Start here. And YouTube works. Now we start here. And I hope those work too. That would be great. Which needs a little longer, as it seems, but it seems to work as well. Perfect. Perfect. Now. So, second try. It is not afternoon, but I think I got it to work. Let's do the test messages. First on Kick. Perfect. Then on Twitch. Perfect. And on YouTube. Ah, I love it. It works. And I actually hope that I originally have planned to also include VStream. But VStream, well, yeah, VStream is has a little bit of problem. A very small problem, at least with my login, because the login is basically your Discord account, and for whatever reason, probably after the Discord name change stuff, that stopped working. So we kind of now have to find out how to reconnect things again. And then I will also try to also include VStream, because at this point, I think there is no reason not to do so. Even when my Twitch is still complaining about, oh my god, you're using 8 megabits per second. Wee. And then, yeah, Kick has no freaking problem, runs stable without any complaints. That might say something about the whole Kick versus Twitch story, but yeah, whatever. But besides that, it seems things work now. Great. I really like that. I really like that. So everything else seems to work too. That is very nice. Yeah. Okay. Nice. So let's start in. I just want to do some daily quests in Fortnite first, just to get my fuck. And the servers are offline. That's okay. Then no Fortnite. Then let's do the second thing that I wanted to do, and that is talk about Palia or Palia or whatever. It's that relatively small cozy indie MORPG, basically. It's basically a multiplayer cozy game. And yeah, well, let's say I have my thoughts about it, because I really liked the idea of the game. I was looking forward to it. The trailer was very, very nice. But, well, you know, in the end, it's an indie game, and you can feel that clearly. And it's updating at the moment, so we might have to wait a few seconds to a few minutes. Excuse me for that. I didn't expect a sudden server maintenance in Fortnite. So, yeah. I'm thinking about... I don't think about anything. It's done. We can go in. Okay. Alright, then let's see. Alright, nice. No, go away. So, Pelia, an indie cozy MORPG, because it's a lot, but clearly not massive. And as I said, I have some thoughts about it, because I am a little bit disappointed, to be honest. Yeah, whatever. Thank you. Go away. So, that's where we are. As you can see, it is, it has a... Oh, God. You can see several things. First of all, it has clearly a very cartoony graphic, right? That's nice. It is almost Disney-ish, what might be relevant for a later point. And yeah, well, despite this very, let's say, minimalistic, reduced look, the performance is very... let's say the game still feels like a beta, right? And it is a typical cozy game. Means you can farm things. It's not like the farm thing in comparison to Stardew Valley, for example. It's not big, but you can farm things, you can plant trees, you have housing, what is, I think, the biggest USP of the game, and by far the biggest feature of it. You have a shit ton of NPCs. Most of them seem to be in the Tavern at the moment, that you can connect with and, yeah, kind of develop friendships with. You even have the whole thing in your menu, of course. So very typical, you can interact with them and increase these funny little bars, and if you cross a specific threshold, you get some rewards. All of these rewards are not crazy interesting, like that's just a currency to improve your energy bar, basically, your bonus energy bar, whatever. You get a key to their house and then an item that are probably mostly just more housing items, so no practical use. So they don't have any practical use. And the main problem is, I think, of Palia at the moment is that you don't get several things. I don't understand why it is an MMO. Why it has to be online, because it adds literally nothing to the game's experience. The social aspect does not carry the game in any way. Because there's no reason to team up with people. Usually, at the moment at least, I think the biggest reason for people to team up in MMOs at the moment are challenges that are designed in a way that they can't be overcome solo. Right? And that, for example, means in the average MMO, dungeons, raids, this is group content, because, well, mostly because enemies are just scaled in a way that you can't beat them solo most of the time. But that's not the case here. Actually, you have literally nothing in Palia that is designed in a way that you need teammates, and the problem is that I don't think that the social aspect, in a sense that you would come together with people to play this game together, there's no reason to do so, right? I mean, if you want to chat with people, just go on Discord, right? And yeah. So at that point it doesn't work. Then you have the whole core gameplay loop. Yeah. Some random items from people, I don't care. The core gameplay loop is you go out, you hunt animals, you can technically here farm things. The yeah. You can cut down trees, you can chop stones and all, but nothing of it is... The main problem is, I think, in Palia is that you don't have a bigger goal. Right? I mean, in the most games, even in Stardew Valley, for example, you have some kind of meta progress. For example, in Stardew Valley, you have, for example, the whole collector's stuff, right? For the museum, I think, for the that village house thing, the community house, whatever. That ruined, you can build up by collecting specific items and then donate them to those funny little spirit animals that then repair that building. Or you have the dungeon, or you have some other kind of progress with the villagers, with the events that then unlock new parts of the map and stuff like that. you don't really have anything of that in Palia, so you would never really know what the point is of doing anything here. You're just gathering a shit ton of items, you store them, and the only thing you can actually work towards is more housing, right? But the problem is that it even if you decide to do that, to work towards more housing, it doesn't feel like you're actually growing, right? Like you have, of course, your tools and stuff, but the problem is the next step of tools just allows you to, for example, cut down bigger trees, right? First you can only cut down those small, almost more bushes, and then now I can cut down those middle-sized trees and get a few more resources from. The next level of the bow is just a bow that deals more damage. The next level of arrows is just arrows that deal more damage to hunt the same animals down that just have different scaling. It is not... There's no progress. You have no real reason to play this game, except you really dig in the whole housing part, because then you can craft things, right? You have plenty of housing items in this game that you can technically craft. You can unlock over time. Every time you're crafting something, you can unlock a new item that you can craft then. And you can go to some NPCs to buy new recipes. For example, better tools for better crafting stations, for stuff like that. But as I said, there is no bigger goal. There's no meta progress. You have a cave here. It is a little bit similar like that community house thing in Stardew Valley. You collect items and then you can donate them and then unlock the door, basically. I'm still not convinced that this will be worth it a lot, but that might be something that you want to do. And until then, you're basically just grinding stuff. Kind of grind that. You also have levels for the things that you're doing. You have, of course, an achievement page, whatever. You have your skill levels, but I personally don't feel a lot of progress here. Like, if I'm leveling up, I don't suddenly do more damage or whatever. Or at least it doesn't feel like that's the case. Right? So hunting is very easy. You're basically one-hitting most animals. You get some loot. The animals with better scaling are in the other map that I can't show you unless I go there. It's literally the same animals, just with more health overall, on average. And the amount of XP that you're getting is abysmally low for literally everything you're doing. So even if you're interacting with the villagers regularly, it really takes a lot of time to get some levels up here. Yeah, it's clearly made to stretch the time a little bit. And the problem is, again, there's no reason to play the game online. There's no activity you can do with players that you can't do as efficiently or even more efficient solo. So, yeah, that's a problem. Then, of course, you have no challenge, but it's as I said, there's no dungeon or whatever, but I think that's overall okay. I don't also think that anything like a dungeon will be included at any point in the future, because as you see, the tool belt is full, and I don't think that's the game the developers want to make. And that's it on the gameplay part. I don't see this game existing in 2 years, to be very honest, because it's pretty much just a bare bones cozy game like many other cozy games too, with the problem that it is online, with the problem that, as I said, the performance is very mixed in my opinion, despite the reduced cartoony look. Like, the loading stutters are real, despite that the game is running from an NVMe SSD. Yeah. Overall, not the best experience. I mean, benefit of the doubt, right? It is a beta at the moment. So things might change, but a question that I think people have to ask themselves is, why would you play this game if you have games like Stardew Valley with mods? Also, you have to keep that in mind. When you have games like My Time at Portia or Porsche, I don't know. The My Time at Sandrock, I think, is the sequel. If you have games, that's what I mean when I say that it looks kind of Disney-ish. When you have games like Disney Dreamlight Valley, that is also pretty much a cozy game, where it's more about building up your town over time. But even there, it feels like it is overall, it has a more fluid core gameplay loop. And I don't know what people should expect from this game in the following month, in the following years, maybe. Because I don't think there is much to expect here. Sadly. And as I said, it's online. It has no reason to be online. You will just be limited when it comes to server maintenances. The players don't matter. They have some forced-in systems where you can send each other materials for your housing, and I think it's complete bullshit, because it's not included in an organic way, right? It's literally just there to, well, have one reason to be an online game. I don't know what the thought process was there. Next. And that's pretty much everything I have to say about Palia. One thing I can say about Palia, let me do something real quick, is let's do my little React window open up. Is here. That's basically what we can expect in, well, the future. It's a themed event. This themed event is something I can show you next. New quests and storylines. The interactions with the villagers are not interesting enough, in my opinion. The quests are relatively boring, meaningless. They don't have any cinematics. There's not much happening. The characters are not even voice acted. They have this this Sims they just rubble things when you talk to them, and then the rest is just reading work for you. New decor and furniture, new crops and recipes. Character customization. The character customization is kind of lackluster, I think, because also they have a shop they will I will show you next real quick. Beards, Nintendo release, whatever. Like, the priorities are clearly villagers, housing, and making money for more housing, a little bit more customization. But as I said, there is no reason to play the game at all, so anything of that would matter in my opinion. The next problem that we have is the patch. That's the event, the Magi Market, and that's basically just you have an event that you can go to get some earn tickets by doing some mini games, and then you can get some rewards that, as it seems, are mostly just recolor plushies again for your housing. Yeah, not much to say. It's just contributes into what I said already. Big focus seems to be housing. So if you're really digging that, that's fine. But I don't think that is a reason for many people to play the game. Then we get to the premium store. I can also show you that one. In the game. And I hate it. I straight up hate it. Why? First of all, we have a currency that goes into the 3 or 4 digits. It's mostly 4 digits. When we look at the items in the shop, we have a few that are under 1000, but mostly it's in the 4-digit area, and I hate the price design. I hate it so much. Because if we look at these bundles, these bonuses alone are complete. I don't get it. Completely bullshit in my opinion. And it's of course also designed in a way so you have a reason to purchase things. The problem is when you charge up, let's say 3,400 Palia coins, and you buy something that, I don't know, sets you back. Let's say you're buying this bundle here, right? You can buy one part for 1,275, what is already pain in the ass, because then you always have these 25, what's it called? Palia coins, yeah, of course, Palia coins. What else? You have these 25 coins always sitting in the back of your currency. And that is an incentive for people to spend, well, of course, more money. And it's even worse when we look at numbers like that, 2,549. I don't know why anybody thought that this is a reasonable price design. I think they just thought 33% off and yay. But I just don't get it. Because then you always have 51 Palia coins, or at least one Palia coin in the last digit sitting in your account, and it's... Maybe it's just me, my inner monk. Not the Buddhistic, but the detective monk. I really don't like that. It's just super annoying, and I think the currency could just straight up could just be 3 digits instead of 4. And I think despite that this is an indie game from probably, I guess, very passionate developers, this is a shop design that is, or at least a price design that is very much on par with Blizzard and Co. There's no difference, and that's also the point when I say, okay, so that's great. You're delivering a very half-baked, bare bones version of other cozy games, and then you have a shop with skins where each cost as much as one of those other cozy games. I don't agree on these on that balance here. So yeah, that's basically. I think I've said anything about Palia that I've wanted to say. They say they want to overhaul the premium store a little bit. What will turn out into a few benefits for players. They will. Yeah. I am generally open to give people the benefit of the doubt. But, I don't know. Like, it feels like the shop is so crazy full while the game is not even fully released. Like, I know maybe they just need the money to continue the development because they struggle with maybe I mean, I'm just guessing here, right? They maybe just struggle with on the financial side to develop this game. But at least at this point, as I said, like, for example, like this, right? 2 pavilions ahead of you on this little loading screen down there. If the game would be just offline, just a normal game, those loading times would be pretty much instant. At least that's what I expect with graphics like this, right? That's not a demanding game. There's not much happening in this game. The effects are fine, the models and all are fine, but it's not crazy, right? And I think it's unfortunate, I think, overall. We will have to see what the game will look like in 2 years, or at least when it comes out of the beta. But if the core stays as it is, means there's no meta progression, there's no reason to play the game long term, there's no real reason to log in every day unless you're really digging the housing stuff, because as you can see, housing is big in this game, right? And you can even extend the things with writs. You get those writs by doing shit for your village. That's it, right? Most items here, again, it's just cosmetical nature. Either cosmetical or it's a crafting station. There's no use. You can't even use things like the chairs, right? Just the crafting stations. It's a beta, as I said. It's a beta. Benefit of the doubt. We will see how it will do over time. But even now, in terms of development, I haven't seen any announcements or plans to include more progress-ish things. So I don't see this game grow a lot, to be honest. And that's basically it. A personal recommendation. if I have to make a conclusion, just play one of the cozy games that we already have. There are plenty out there. May it be pixel games, may it be games like that. As I said, Disney Dreamlight Valley, for example, is in many ways very similar. Despite that the housing part is not as seamless and expansive, not expensive, exhaustive. It's not as big, it's not as focused in Dreamlight Valley, but the rest around it feels just a little bit smoother to me. Yeah, that's what I can say to Palia, and I think I would install the game, and probably I won't install it again afterwards, sadly. That's about Palia. Check. I'm now thinking about what to talk about next. I would like to talk about one thing. Because it was more a spontaneous tweet of myself. Let's go here. And I think that's good enough. We don't need to go full screen. And I did a tweet, I think a week ago or something like that. About a week ago, yep. Because I noticed that many people don't know one thing about SM7Bs. And that is that the market is absolutely flooded with fakes. And it's crazy because, on the contrary, on the other hand, I've seen many people will recommend to buy a used one, because many people, of course, bought an SM7B, and many people of them didn't continue to create things, make videos, stream, whatever, and then they, of course, sell those freaking expensive microphones. But the problem is simply that you can't trust the used market. These fakes are almost perfect, and a lot of them you won't notice that they are fakes. Up to the point when you finally hear the sound of them. And I think people that don't know how an SM7B is supposed to sound, they won't even notice the fake at this point. And what I mean when I say don't buy used SM7Bs is that these fakes, they go on AliExpress, Wish, whatever. They sometimes go for 50 to 90 bucks. Are extremely well made. In a sense of looking a lot like the original. And then a lot of people buy just these fakes and then resell them as almost unused, almost new, for small prices on the used market. So it is very likely that if you're buying an SM7B on the used market, it is likely to be a fake. There is a really nice video about this. I can just recommend the video to you. It is from the channel Scented Style. Just watch it. TLDR of this video is you won't know it. You simply won't know it if you have a fake or not. And that's as I said, it's a problem. And I think the only way to actually circumvent that is, well, to buy an SM7B new, unused, from a reputable seller from some official seller. For example, in Europe, it's probably stores like Thomann, or I don't know what the equivalent of a big music store is in the USA, but something like that, basically. And then the question is, what is the solution to this problem? And yeah, well, that's obviously to not buy an SM7B. That's, at least in my opinion, the solution. Because many people have this weird obsession just with the looks of the SM7B, and that goes so far that we even have people on YouTube that make tutorials where you can do it yourself, 3D print a case that looks like a Shure SM7B, where then put another microphone into. That's complete bullshit. That's not how that works. You won't get the quality of the microphone. I don't understand why people seemingly are so obsessed just with the looks of the microphone. And if we go away just from the looks, I personally think there's just a much, much better microphone out there for most creators, and that is not the SM7B, but it's the SM57. What is basically the little brother of the SM7B? Let's see if we find a good image. It's that microphone, right? Maybe you've seen it, maybe you have not seen it. It usually also comes with a pop filter, a wind filter like that. And the interesting thing of this microphone is that it's basically the microphone that the US presidents used for decades now. It's also very heavy in use in the music production. It is mostly used as an instrumental mic, but is also very, very nicely for vocals, especially with the wind filter and with some EQ. We have literally tutorials how to EQ the SM57 into an SM7B. And if you don't have high quality headphones, you won't hear any difference. And I think even many people with high quality headphones won't hear a difference. That is a video from a channel I can also recommend a lot, Julian Krause. It's a German tech YouTuber that does videos in English, so for the English audience, very much recommended. It simply just shows you how to EQ the microphone to sound like an SM7B. Now, what are the pros of the SM57? As I said, it can be easily EQ'd to sound like an SM7B. It doesn't look like it, but it sounds like it, basically. Next thing that is important is the SM7B often are used in combination with a cloud lifter. Today it is not needed anymore because many, at least mid to high quality interfaces, have enough power to make the microphone work. But at least in the past, many interfaces couldn't, and then you had things like a cloud lifter, what is basically a little pre-gain. It just pumps a little bit more power, so it is loud enough to, in the end, work for the purposes that is intended. You don't need that with an SM57. The general sensibility and output is just high enough to work out of the box. You just put it onto the interface. You don't even need these phantom power stuff, and it works. No freaking problem. No additionally investments needed. Then, talking about money, it costs a quarter of its big brother. The Shure SM7B, at least in Europe, usually goes around $400. The SM57 can easily be you can get the SM57 easily for just $100. And it is very much worth it. As I said, you won't hear a big quality difference. Then the microphone is much more versatile. We all know the shape of the SM7B. We know how it is attached to the microphone arm. It is a microphone that is only really usable as the kind of broadcast vocal microphone. And with that, it is also relatively, it occupies a lot of space, right? It is not the smallest microphone, and that is much different to the SM57 because that is just a handheld microphone that can used in so much more occasions, for so many more things to do with it. As I said, it is used as an instrumental mic, for example. It is designed as a handheld mic, so even if you touch it, it is not super sensitive to it. The SM7B is also not sensitive to it. That's, of course, a positive thing about the SM7B here. But overall, it is smaller. It is you can just use it for more. I think that is not really a big point for many people, but it is still a point, you know? And as I said, it's just smaller. What is, in my opinion, a pro in most cases, because then you just have more view. You can just see more. There's not a big clunky mic in front of your face that robs you of a lot of vision. And yes, 57 is just this small, slick little microphone. And why do I think that this is now the solution? Because there are also SM57 fakes out there, and the reason, as I said, is just it is much cheaper. It is much more affordable to get this mic new from a reputable seller, and you're safe. You don't have to think about, is it now real, is it not real, because also the SM57 fakes, as I said, watch the video, are barely distinguishable from the real ones. From the fakes and real ones look basically identical. And yeah, then I think together with the windscreen, you can even use a $5 cheap fuck windscreen. You don't need the official one from Shure. That, of course, in my opinion, looks a little bit better, I think. And then you can get a cheap spider. Let me see. Oopala. What did I do? Like, what was the name? SSM. Like, for example, these super cheap, like $8 here. We have the SSM5. It's, of course, a little bit more expensive, but it is even smaller comparatively. And those work great. In comparison to the official shock mount of the SM57, it is much cheaper and has overall the same effect. It works just great. I have that one literally at the moment in use on my SM57 here, and it just works absolutely great. I will try out the SSM5 in the future too, because as I said, is a little bit smaller, and I think having more free space in your site is just, it's just nice, especially if you have 3 monitors and one monitor is partially covered from the microphone, by the microphone. And yeah, as I said, it's a great microphone. It is an absolute working horse. It is used for decades from musicians, from the US presidents in their speeches. And I think unless you're really going for the SM7B, more as a status symbol to show it on your stream, to tell people you have an SM7B. I don't think there's any reason to buy an SM7B over the SM57 unless you absolutely know the very few benefits the SM7B has over the SM57. And I think most people that especially start with streaming content creation, they won't know that. As I said, most people that get a fake probably wouldn't even realize that they have a fake because they have no idea about how audio works, how EQ works, how a good microphone sounds, or even just how that specific microphone sounds. And yeah, as I said, the only thing that you can do with the little tutorial from Julian Kraus is just EQ your microphone. I'm using SteelSeries Sonar for that within a SteelSeries GG software suite, and just works. I can technically also just show you that on stream. Give me a second. Right. Looks like this. That's just my setup here. And that's basically my microphone. You just have to do 3 little adjustments here in the equalization, and then your microphone will sound very, 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 very close to an SM7B. And yeah, I mean, what can I say? That's about the SM7B and especially the SM7B fakes. Like really, if you really want a real SM7B, don't buy used unless you really know the person, you trust the person, that they don't lie to you, and that they know that they don't have a fake, right? Because I wouldn't be surprised if people buy fakes, think they're originals, and then after 3 months when they stop with content creation, they just sell a fake then to people thinking they have an original SM7B. It's hard, I think. It is overall hard to recommend any, especially beginning creator, to buy an SM7B, so please don't do that. I might do a whole freaking tutorial about my whole audio and stream setup, what I've learned over time, at some point in the future. Maybe I will talk about it on stream. That's might be also an option, to be honest. And yeah, that's it. Buy another microphone. Don't go for the SM7B. You can do so much more valuable things with the money. Like, I mean, just imagine you're saving $300, maybe even $400 if you also had to buy the cloud lifter. Just put it in a better GPU, for example. You will get so much more out of the better graphics card or general better hardware. An SSD, for example, or something like that. You'll get so much more out of that than just a fucking expensive microphone that you won't be able to use properly until a few weeks, a few months into your creation journey. It is how it is, you know. And that's about this. I mainly just want to spread some awareness, especially for beginning creators, that there are a shit ton of fakes out there. And that they shouldn't think they do a crazy good deal if they find an SM7B for 100, 150, $200. At this point, it is pretty much a coin flip if it is an original or not. So, that's about this. Twitter. I also want to talk about Twitter, and especially about Twitter alternatives. So, Twitter, formerly known Twitter, today it's X. X. It is X. We had a lot of people leaving the platform for alternatives, like Mastodon. We had some people going for platforms like Blue Sky. We had Threads from Meta as a very, I don't want to say interesting alternative, because it's not really interesting, because it's pretty much just Twitter and worse. And I tried around a lot. I probably have registered myself on 5 different platforms. And I just want to talk about those alternatives and what I think about them. First of all, popularity. Because you would think, right, after so many people said that they would leave Twitter, the other platforms would have gone completely crazy in terms of popularity. Well, they don't. They don't. I just compare here Twitter, Threads, Mastodon, Blue Sky, Tumblr. Besides, I would say Threads, all of these names are very unique. You won't have much disturbance just for because people search for the terms that are in the word. If somebody searches for Twitter, they will probably mean the Twitter. If somebody searches for Threads, they also mean maybe just what's the word? Wait. True. Oh, okay. Strings. Yarn. Yarn was the word. They maybe just search for stuff like that. Whatever. What I was going for is, if you look at this, this is a statistic about it is about 4 months long. And we can see there's not much happening. Right? And then we had the whole Twitter drama thing. Then we had Threads, the release. That, of course, blew up like crazy. Because big news. And then it effectively died again. What is really interesting. And the interesting thing is, from all platforms that I've tried, the most interesting platform for me is actually Tumblr. What is maybe weird for some people, but I think Tumblr is, if people care about actually having a Twitter alternative, it is the best thing at the moment. Threads is Twitter and bad, with more censorship and stuff. Like no NSFW content and all. Also, it's made by Facebook. You have to connect it with your Instagram account. Like, I don't know if we want to share even more data with Facebook. So that's in general something I'm not really interested to support. So this is that. And the problem is also that Threads, nobody just freaking uses it. You can see, if you just look at the numbers here, Threads is, these are, by the way, these are percentages, right? Threads, the peak of Threads is 100%, then everything is in comparison to that. So 2% in comparison to its peak is threads. What is important to know, that's what I meant. That's why I said that people might also search for yarn stuff. Is threads already had search volume before it released. And that is not because it has a big announcement or something like that, or people were interested in it, because Threads was pretty much just a shadow drop. It just was there one day, and then it was, well, as I said, gone again. But what is important is to see is, if we look at here, the term Threads already had search volume by 1%. That means that everything we have after that, we have basically to subtract that 1% of search volume, as I said, in comparison to the peak, from those two. So we basically come out with Twitter, straight up, very consistent, obviously still the most popular platform. Threads with 1%, because as I said, you have to subtract search volume for just yarns and stuff like that. Platforms like Mastodon, nobody gives a shit about Mastodon. Nobody gives a shit about Blue Sky. And the only platform besides Threads that has some relevant search volume is, again, Tumblr. Interesting, right? So that's just the look at the popularity of these platforms. Then let's talk about the decentralized stuff. Mastodon. Mastodon is a quote-unquote decentralized, short message service. I don't know. A decentralized Twitter clone. Okay, let's call it like that. And the problem is that makes exploring things, finding people extremely hard. Also, even after the big exodus after Elon Musk bought Twitter, there's nobody here on Mastodon. Nobody uses that platform. Nobody cares. Even big people that, fled to Mastodon are just gone again. You can search for, I've just tried to find a few very big creators, like, let's see if we find one of those. Then we have to flip. No. We have to find out which one is the correct one. Probably this one. And they're just gone. June 8th, last post, doesn't exist anymore. On Mastodon. Not worth it. They had basically no interaction. Nobody cared. And the same is true for most other creators I've searched for that I'm following. Most people are either just not on Mastodon, or they just don't care. Or they are just, as I said, gone again. The next problem is with Mastodon is people say they have the big benefit of being decentralized, but the problem is that this usually comes let's see, I need a server list. Servers, yeah. It is decentralized, so technically everybody can set up a Mastodon instance. So that technically means that you can take your privacy in your own hands. But the problem is these decentralized platforms are very much pseudo decentralized, because in the end, the main instance of just mastodon.social is so much bigger than any other instance. It effectively becomes non-centralized again, in my opinion. And therefore I think that argument in itself is it's technically true, but practically it's just not a thing. People don't care about decentralization. They don't want to choose a server or whatever. They it's just practically not relevant in the whole comparison between platforms. Then you also have platforms like, for example, Miski. I literally can't go on Miski. That is practically like Mastodon, but I think from the Japanese side, made by Japanese people. So it's mostly a Japanese-based platform at the moment. I only found that out about some VTubers. The problem here is Miski. I literally can't go on the website. I can't scroll through even 10 posts without getting some freaking lolicon shit into my face. I know that Japanese people are a little bit more hands off here, but bro, I'm not convinced that most people would join a platform where you scroll just 5-10 posts and then you see, I mean, technically half of the timeline is just made of sensitive posts, like blurred pictures and stuff. But the problem is it's usually a very childlike character doing some very sexual things. So Miski, for that reason, I don't think so that this is the future for anyone, not for VTubers, not for the general audience. Then, as I said, in comparison in terms of popularity, Facebook blows everything out of the mind. By the way, Blue Sky, talking about Blue Sky real quick, it still has this invite system that limits the amount of people that are on the platform even more than, for example, Mastodon. The audience doesn't exist, and therefore you as a creator have no reason to join. And because there are no creators on the platform, you as a user, as a fan, have no reason to join. So what's the point of Blue Sky anyway? Facebook still blows everything out of the water. It is almost unfair in comparison. That's why I have not included it here. That's why I think the only real comparison should be between actually Twitter, Threads, and Tumblr. As I said, Mastodon, I don't think anybody cares about Mastodon. And we just go in the past 30 days. It's pretty much on par. Like, we don't know how much of the search volume from Threads. Wonderful. Bye. It's so sad. Like, you're on Twitch, and the first messages that you get are usually some freaking paid viewers, some bot sellers and shit like that. Yeah, whatever. That's what I'm saying, right? The only platform I think that is actually interesting in the overall comparison is, in my opinion, Tumblr. At the moment, at least, we don't have a real competition to Twitter, X, and Threads is. I don't see people using the platform at all. And I think Tumblr is interesting. They redesigned a lot of things to look a lot like Twitter. They have pretty much most of the same features. They, for whatever reason, introduced Tumblr Live a while ago, as far as I have seen. Don't know why they need this. It is not comparatively to Twitch or whatever, and I think most people won't use it. But it is there, at least. You find some people, at least, some people use Tumblr, what is fine, I think. I think even the desktop version is pretty cool. In a sense, you can use this view where we have several posts side by side, which is very nice if you just want to scroll through your timeline a little bit. And if not, if you want a real Twitter experience, you can just do that. You don't have a limit like Twitter. You can literally just post one freaking long thing. I've did this with yeah, like for example, you have seen the Twitter post about the microphones on Twitter. It is, I don't know, how many posts is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. Here, I can just put it together into one big post. That's nice. Like, on Twitter, you have to pay for that shit, right? So, Tumblr does the same and is free. So, yeah, I don't know. I think if people really care about the alternative, they might just try out Tumblr. Tumblr. And that's, I think, everything I have to say. Blue Sky, nobody cares about Blue Sky. Mastodon, nobody cares about Mastodon. Threads is a meta company. I don't know if you want to sell your soul to Meta instead of to Elon Musk. I don't know what is the smaller evil here. Twitter is the platform just by the fact that everyone is on Twitter, and I think the only platform that's actually interesting is Tumblr. So that's the conclusion, the summary, basically. What I have found out about those other platforms. This is that. Then, let's talk about this one. Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate did things. Baldur's Gate did things after its release. Big things, actually. And at least according to IGN, it made some developers a little bit nervous. They made some developers a little bit nervous, and yeah. Let's see, where is it? This video here. The overall TLDR of this video is because they found incredible amounts of a few tweets. Plus something from Bungie, what was interesting. Ah yeah, that's just comparison stuff. Okay. We just have 4 tweets, I think. That's EA Star Wars, so we have 4 tweets. Most of them are, I think, already hidden. But it is mostly about that one that I think started the whole conversation. From, I think, is an indie developer. Writing for Stranger Things VR, Hypnospace, Outlaw. Okay, whatever. And according to IGN, the development of Baldur's Gate 3, the quality of the game is so incredible that it makes developers panic, as they say, that this might introduce new standards to gaming. First of all, I don't think that is the case. It has many reasons. Some reasons are actually in this tweet, in this thread. And on the other hand, they are completely overblowing the whole situation. What is again, I think that this is not serious journalism. I mean, it's just IGN things again. Because most people are just not panicking. I saw many people actually just explaining why Baldur's Gate is basically an anomaly, because it is an anomaly for reasons we will go over in a few minutes. And yeah, I think that is just a PR piece for IGN, shitting on other devs. And I mean, it is fine. Generally speaking, I think it is fine. I think Baldur's Gate shows that games can be successful, especially when you compare them to, for example, Diablo 4, what is a complete train wreck. But this video is complete dogshit. It is dishonest. It is very emotionally overloaded. And that all based on a few tweets of people. After the video, I saw people complaining about Baldur's Gate 3. Of course, these people will always exist. We had people complaining about the Elden Ring UI design. Also there, I think, very much justified. I also was not a big fan of the UI of Elden Ring. I also was not a big fan of the menus in Elden Ring, but it's fine, right? And for whatever reason, people also blew these criticisms out of the water and made them into, people think the game is bad because the UI is bad. No, that's usually not what these people said. And the same is here the case. So let's read the post. You can see it. You can see it. Like a lot of people, I am deeply excited about what the lovely folks... Again, without stumbling over my own tongue. Like a lot of people, I am deeply excited about what the lovely folks at Larian accomplished with Baldur's Gate 3, but I want to gently preemptively push back against players taking that excitement and using it to apply criticism or a raised standard to RPGs going forward. You can't separate a game from the process used to build it, so let's look at what Larian is taking into the development and final version of this game. By the way, first of all, I saw many praises about Baldur's Gate 3, and the game is not perfect. Like, I don't know where those review scores come from. It's, I guess, from people that only play the first 2 acts. But even according to the developers, the game is literally unfinished. The actual ending of the game is not in the game at the moment. And the same is true for reports now, several weeks after release, from people that now slowly got into the last act of the game or towards the end of the second act. And they report that the game falls off tremendously in comparison to Act 1. That the game has many bugs that they had to fix with patches over the last weeks. That does not sound like a game that is as great, as optimized, as bug-free, as feature-complete as many media outlets and reviewers said. So I have to question these early reviews again. And I'm very happy about the reviewer that take their time to play the game to not push themselves to publish the review the moment the game released. I think it is. We usually have this weird thing going on with the new releases today. And that is usually that a game comes out, gets praised. Usually it starts with a lot of hype, a lot of marketing budget goes into ads, into interviews, into shit like that. Selling you a game that usually does not exist. That is not the case really for Baldur's Gate 3, I think. There were not that many ads and marketing things going on. I think the biggest marketing for the game was literally the early access. So that's, by the way, one of the special things he will mention in this thread. And then you have this crazy excitement around 2 or 3 weeks after release, depending also on how big the game is. And then usually about a month later, people start to mention more downsides of games. And it's at this point always the case. You have this, you can literally see this pattern with every new release. And it's just so tiresome. That's why I don't play new games anymore. Diablo 4, it was stupid for me to pay the price for the game. Absolutely not justified. I regret it. And yeah, I won't go for Starfield. I won't play Baldur's Gate 3 until it is really finished. I won't pay money to play a beta version of a game. And these are not standards Baldur's Gate could raise in any way. It is not a finished game. It is not perfectly optimized. It is not bug-free. It is a special game, though. Let's keep reading. His points are dev cycle stretching back to 2017. That's not crazy. The game now came out 23, 6 years. That is not crazy, right? Many dev cycles stretch back half a decade for games these days. Not necessarily in terms of active development, but for example, in big studios like, for example, Ubisoft that develop games parallel to each other. Usually the developments, especially for the concept phase and stuff like that, where they just plan out what the game will be in the end. These usually happen much earlier than the actual development of a game. That's also why we need to be very careful when, for example, CD Projekt says, hey, we are working on 4 Witcher games at the same time. Probably they don't. Probably they have maybe 2 games in active development and 2 other games are kind of on the side, right? And the same is probably true for Baldur's Gate 3, but Baldur's Gate 3 had, as I said, the big benefits of being early access. Then, point number 2, 2 massive games and the definitive editions worth of tech and institutional knowledge to draw from. That is true. So Larian is it's a very specialized studio when it comes to isometric, kind of old school turn-based RPGs like Divinity Original Sin 1, Original Sin 2, Baldur's Gate 3. That this studio is at this point, that the studio and especially the people working in the studio are specialized to develop this kind of game is so valuable for Baldur's Gate 3. And also the tech that builds up to this game is incredibly valuable. That is usually not comparative. You can compare it to a lot of other studios, even big companies. Right? Because often developer studios, they get bought up and then they have to develop a game that maybe is in a genre they have never done before. Like you can even look at studios like CD Projekt, right? They had this experience, the tech from 3 Witcher games, and then suddenly they started to develop not another medieval third-person fantasy RPG, but then they did develop a first-person cyberpunk shooter RPG. And suddenly shit was much less smooth. The development was much more, let's say, scuffed. Having people in your company that know how to make the games that you want to make is incredibly valuable. And I think that is actually an incredibly important point. That is also very important. The institutional knowledge is that probably Larian is a studio where people, the developers, stay. What do I mean by that? Is that game development is a very it's a little bit a problem of Theseus' ship. What is basically the question: if you have a ship and that gets damaged over time and you repair it with new parts, if you replace parts of the ship, and at some point every part of the ship got replaced, is it still the ship from the beginning or is it a completely new ship? And the same is true for development studios. You have many developers come into a company and then leave 2 years later. And they take every experience, everything they did with them, and they will be replaced by other devs that don't have as much experience. And so especially big companies that have a lot of pressure on their devs and tight deadlines to, please the shareholders, they usually have a much usually in these big studios, devs leave much more constantly, much more often, much faster. And I think if you're a developer that likes to build these games at a studio like Larian that is specialized in that specific type of game, you don't really have a reason to move on to another development studios. And that is also incredibly valuable. And I think that is also something where we can dip into it actually into a topic where I kind of wanted to also talk about Diablo 4 again. And we have to talk about this video.
Do you have any emotes?
So for the people that haven't seen this video, this is a little video where 2 developers of the game, quote unquote, play the game. And it's very clearly that they seemingly
Dungeon that is
either have never played this game before, or they are absolutely not made to do videos like that.
for like when someone has something.
And it is an incredibly bad look because it looks really like these are devs that barely play games at all, or at least not the type of games they are developing. And that is, of course, a big problem. And I think that's a topic where we have to talk about the difference of passionate devs that care about gaming, the games that try to bring their passion for their genre, for their game into the development, and developers that just see the job as a job, right? They don't necessarily care about, playing the game themselves, understanding the game, being basically a big fan of a specific genre, and basically just go there, do their 9-to-5 job, and then go back home again. And this is something I think we have a big problem in general at the moment. I can just let it play in the background a little bit. Because I think the whole development or developers in general are very much romanticized a lot in the gaming space. Like, it's always the big bad publisher, and developers can't do bad things at all, and blah blah blah. If anything goes wrong, it must be the bad publisher. But at this point, we have gaming as a job, as an industry, is so established that we have more and more people going into it that don't go there because they have a particularly big passion, but just because that's what they want to do. That's how they want to earn the money. And I think a video like that, with people that are actually also not like senior dungeon designer, that is, I guess, an important role. Associate designer, both are designers. But the senior dungeon designer designing a dungeon is of course important, because in the end, if you don't have any idea about ARPG, oh yeah, and they died, by the way. If you are an important part of the dungeon design process, you of course have to know how ARPGs work, how the core gameplay works, how the loop works, how good flow works in ARPGs, so you can design good dungeons, of course. And the same is true with many other mechanics, many other systems in these games. And I think Diablo 4 shows very nice, in contrast to the Baldur's Gate 3, that we have a studio where a lot of people left over the past years. Blizzard, right? Especially after the sexual harassment accusations. Many people left, but I think you already had many, especially important people, that left the studio before that. So you have a big amount of brain drain, and I think Diablo 4 is a game that shows that incredibly well. And that's basically the big difference between a studio like Larian, that is not on the stock market, that just have to keep themselves afloat, basically, and a studio like Activision Blizzard that has to please shareholders. So what then usually happens is that the amount of marketing people, the people that sell the game, get more and more important in these studios. That is not the case in Baldur's, in Larian, for example, usually. And I think the more important, the bigger say these marketing people have, the less the passion developers will stay in the studio. I think the amount of bad practices, the amount of that kind of design the game around monetization and things like that, is something where I would expect much more developers just being not happy with the end product, with the work environment, in comparison to the studio like Larian, where everybody knows, okay, that everything they're working on can be the best product they will accomplish within the company, because they have the freedom to just develop a good game and not care that much about marketing, monetization, and shit like that. And yeah, that's basically, that all goes into this point. I mean, Blizzard, for example, is dead, but I think many passionate devs will just go more into these smaller studios. We also have a lot of ex-Blizzard developers that created their own studios, so where I'm very interested what will come out of those in the future. And I think Diablo 4 and Baldur's Gate 3 show a very nice contrast between basically two different kind of philosophies that we have in modern times. What game development is about. One is mostly about making as much money as possible, and the other is about having a studio with people that absolutely want to make the game that they're making. And I think I've stumbled a little bit around this point too much, so sorry if I went too much into tangents and stuff. But I think that is actually an interesting topic that people have to keep in mind. So, next point. Super successful early access period lasting 3 years, providing crucial community feedback, bug hunting, and cash flow. Yes. First of all, cash flow is of course very important to, well, be able to develop the game longer until they have to release it. And besides that, of course, 3 years of early access can be incredibly valuable to a studio. And I think that is very much a good example of how early access can be used to create a product that is superb, that is absolutely more than above average than comparable products, even in comparison to their own games, like Original Sin 2. And yes, this is indeed not normal. That is pretty much an normal kind of development for a game. But I think that is not special because technically nothing prevents other studios from doing the same. So I don't think that is actually a good point in here. And the same goes for the next point. Over 400 developers in 7 different offices around the world, not including outsourcing partners. That is also not a big point. Baldur's Gate 3 is clearly a AAA game. They have a lot of budget, they have a lot of developers, but so do many other studios. Right? Those 400 developers might not be as competent, might not be as experienced, might not be as passionate about their games. But they still have these quantities. And that is not something special about Larian and Baldur's Gate 3. So I think that is a very, very weak point here. Especially considering that most comparable RPGs, even third-person RPGs, are usually not made under a double or triple A budget. So usually you will get around these numbers. The Witcher games were pretty much special in that regards because Witcher 2 and especially Witcher 3 were comparatively cheap in comparison to most games of that time back then, and especially in comparison to modern times. And then the fifth point is, again, I think a very, very, very weak one. The license, brand, and world of one of the largest entertainment IPs in the world, D&D, and the apex of its popularity within, with the rise of the actual play movement and a movie. He probably means stuff like Critical Role and the movie, but I think the brand Baldur's Gate is completely irrelevant for most people. The last Baldur's Gate game, Baldur's Gate 2, what was, of course, a very praised game, came out in 2000, over 20 years ago. Right? This is not a reputation or a brand that can last this long. People that now buy Baldur's Gate 3 don't care about Baldur's Gate 1 or 2. Most people, of course. Of course, you have veterans that hear the name, but I think you have much more people that play Baldur's Gate 3 because it's a Larian game than because it is a Baldur's Gate game because of the IP. I don't think that is the case. So I don't get where this point actually comes from. I also don't think that stuff like Critical Role and all of that pen and paper stuff, or the movie, like, come on, how many people actually noticed that there was a Dungeons and Dragons movie? I think he's pretty much overestimating the actual impact of the movie. And I also don't know if pen and paper is that good of transferring interest of a user base towards a game, because it is very much different. The special things about pen and paper are very hardly to mimic in game. And yeah, and technically also I think if pen and paper is a big thing, and I don't think D&D and it's just D&D makes it, but pen and paper as a whole, then I think pen and paper should have also an impact on past games like Pillars of Eternity, Original Sin games. Let's we have a Pathfinder, for example. But none of these games had as much impact, had as much gravitas, right? As Baldur's Gate 3. So I don't think this point is particularly true. So, yeah. Larian is coming into this game swinging with a gigantic weight of expectation to deal with, but they are also doing it with an immense amount of wind. That's what we said previously: direct experience, resources, specialty tooling, and so on. As I said, we talked about this. This is very important. This is probably the biggest point he is making, and he is absolutely true. This is not panicking. This is just true that this is indeed, sadly, a normal in the current gaming industry. But I don't think that Larian as a studio here is the problem, but I think the problem is that this kind of development is a normal. As a TLDR, in an era of mega games, Baldur's Gate 3 is one of the largest attempted built by a specialized group of people using mature tech specially built to make this specific game, reinforced by invaluable mass player feedback and market validation ahead of its launch. This is not a new baseline for RPGs, this is an anomaly. As I said, I agree. And trying to do the same thing in the same way, especially without the same advantages, could kill an entire group of studios. I also agree. But generally speaking, that's what I'm saying is many of the big studios that we have today that nobody likes, right? Ubisoft, EA, Blizzard, even Activision, right? With Call of Duty, were studios that were built upon of usually one or two franchises where they were specialized in, with games that got better and better and better over time. So I think every studio is in the end trying to attempting the same thing, to get out of the door with one successful title and then build upon that with new experience, with the new tech, with a bigger scale, more developers in general, and so on and so forth. So, of course, if the expectation is that now any kind of studios will just now make a Baldur's Gate 3 and then it will be as good as it is. No, of course not. This is not how it works. But I think every studio can attempt to build an Original Sin 1, then an Original Sin 2. By the way, both games that needed a lot of polish afterwards, as I think Baldur's Gate 3 will need too. And then at some point come out with the magnum opus of the studio. And again, I think the problem here again is not necessarily that this is a crazy thing about Larian. I think the problem is much more that this is so normal in the current gaming space. And yeah, I think the next point is interesting and important. If they go as big or bigger with the next title, Larian themselves could die. That's the risk and reward of the mega game. Absolutely true. I would think if they would just try some form of maybe a Shadowrun or something like that, a complete genre setting drift, not genre drift, but setting drift, into something that is not as mass compatible as, well, fantasy. I think that could damage the bottom line of the studio a lot, actually. But in the end, that is pretty much a risk every studio has, right? I don't think it is necessarily about the size, but it is the size in comparison to the studio's resources, right? A small studio doesn't need a mega game to flop, to die. Just has to push out a small indie game that then flops, and then it will die. And yeah, it's pretty much true. We are an industry dangling elephants over cliffs, pointing at the ones that don't collapse under their own weight as indictments. It is true, right? Indictments? To the ones that do. So please celebrate the achievement represented by Baldur's Gate 3. It looks like a massive amount of effort is about to pay off in a big way for one of the brightest voices in the medium. But if you shout that every RPG should be like this going forward, you have no excuse. You not just missed the point, you've created the expectations and conditions to ensure your favorite creators may never be able to give you the thing you love ever again. True. As I said, just based off on this tweet, he's not panicking, not at all. He is explaining very simple facts. And I think many people just got this thread the wrong way by simply not understanding how game development works overall. I'm not saying that I'm particularly better on that, but at least I have probably about a decade now of knowledge based on listening to people that know how to do these things, how development works. From also very different perspectives. I really like a specific podcast that we have, at least in Germany, a German podcast called Auf ein Bier. What would be the best translation for that? Literal translation would be on a beer. Lol. What is basically a gaming podcast, very nicely done, from journalist that left the big media gaming press in Germany and then made an independent project. And also that, it's pretty much the same like with Larian. They took the risk and they grew, they got more experience, they grew more knowledge how to do things, they expanded, and every new year this project pays off more, and the same is I think true with Larian. Even when I think they shouldn't go bigger than Baldur's Gate 3, because I think the scale of Baldur's Gate 3, especially when it comes to the amount of decision making you can do, is complete bullshit. It is not efficient. It is very. I don't think it is healthy. I know that many people like that the game reacts to everything you're doing, but especially when we look at Act 3, you can see even this studio that knows what it does can't hold this standard from Act 1 through the whole game. They simply can't. And the problem is also if you have so many kinds of path you can take in the game, so many types of decisions that can influence the outcome of something in the game. You will have the problem that you have a lot of bloat in the game. You have a lot of content in the game that you have to make, but that most people won't ever see. Because most people won't play through this game 5 times and then try different things out. I think we have many people that play the game now once and then maybe in 5 years again. But if they will do the same things again is also a big question. And I think a lot of people will do same thing again. So this is that. Yeah, but overall, I think that pretty much shows again. How serious people should take articles and videos from IGN. But I think this thread is actually valuable. Not necessarily in the sense of critiquing players that want games that don't milk them dry at release, that want games that are halfway complete, that feel okayish optimized. As I said, Baldur's Gate has its problems, especially later on. But I think Baldur's Gate 3 shows that, quote unquote, development that was possible 10 years ago, 15 years ago, is still possible today. And I think many people just looked at Baldur's Gate 3, no release DLCs, no season passes, no battle passes, no FOMO bullshit, no pay $30 more for the special deluxe edition to play 5 days before everyone else. It's just a very honest game, a very honest release of a game. And I think that if we could go back to this standard, I think we would win so much. I don't expect many studios to even attempt a game like Baldur's Gate 3 because, as I said, you will have to put a lot of budget into things most people don't see. That's also why games with a lot of decision making are not very popular among studios because they know this problem. And they usually decide to make content as good as possible that everyone sees instead of making a lot of a big quantity of content that is also good, but that a lot of people won't experience because they simply won't make the decisions to get to this content. And that's generally speaking a very, very extensive discussion, I think, that we can have probably several times again over the next years. But I do think I said what I wanted to say. I also, of course, made a tweet about it. I think the biggest thing today is that Baldur's Gate 3 brought back the memories of players. Hey, Dark Inside, how are you doing? I've talked about Baldur's Gate in the last few few big quotes minutes. Because I have to recap basically the last few weeks what happens because I didn't stream. I good so far. As I said, I haven't streamed. I had now tried around a lot so I could basically make a big multi-stream setup. So I now have a combined chat from 4 different platforms and a setup that works for me so I can stream and record in OBS at the same time. So very, very much digging and tinkering, but it now works and I'm pretty happy. I'm happy, I think. Yeah, and the thing that I was going over is basically how Baldur's Gate is. I mean, Baldur's Gate did a lot of waves. True. The good thing is that if you consider streams basically as a way to create just content, that's basically it. So I would basically take the VOD from the stream and make that into videos. It's very easy. So even as a small creator, you can get a good chunk of value out of it. And I think that's usually how I approach streaming at the moment, at least. It is, of course, much more interesting to chat with people like you. And yeah, I'm trying to be relatively chill. Thank you. So, what I was basically talking about was that Baldur's Gate, I think, we had a whole discussion with the IGN video where they complained about developers that panicked. I've talked about the thread they were talking about, where, well, nobody really panicked. And also, I think that nobody expects that Baldur's Gate sets new standards. I think the important thing is just that Baldur's Gate, when it comes to monetization, optimization, and things like that, it's just bringing back the memories of players from what games standards were 15 years ago. I do indeed have a Discord, but I have to say I haven't set it up just now. I'm very sorry. Maybe in the past. If you want, you can follow me on Twitter. And I might also have to set up my Kick channel. As I said, I've tinkered a lot in the past few days. So I could stream to those amount of platforms at the same time. But I haven't set up my stream channel and links and stuff. Call me Teci. I think I should. Let me see. I should have a link in my. Here. Should be able to click it. Shit. Okay. My link is dead. Probably. Yeah. So here. At Call Me Teci. I will update that one today. But I don't get why the link is not working. That is weird. That is very, very weird. But it's okay. Small streamer scuff, I guess. So, where was I? Yeah, but overall, I think the topic of Baldur's Gate, I pretty much went over that plenty at this point. Thank you. It's really nice to hear that. Also, thank you for your follow. I was also thinking about talking about the Overwatch 2 release on Steam because I mean that was a bomb, you know. But the alerts. So that's also a thing that I was tinkering a lot because it is a little bit a pain in the ass to find a site that combines all platforms into one alert system. And that's also why I don't have alerts at the moment. So that's one of the things I will hopefully find a solution for in the next few days. But for now, I just wanted to see if the things are working at the moment. So as I said, I'm streaming on several platforms. I'm streaming on Kick at the moment, on Twitch, and on YouTube at the same time. And I plan to also stream on VStream. And the great thing is that I have a combined chat. So as you can see in the chat window, you have this little kick symbol. And when you, on the other hand, would write something in the YouTube chat, I get a YouTube symbol. And it is all combined. It is one chat and it's great. Just took me way too long to set this up. But yeah, it is how it is. Yes, I'm currently live on YouTube, on Twitch, and on Kick. I will. Let me see if I can just update my links there real quick. Or at least I could share my card. I think that would make things much easier. Let's see. Let's see. I can't. Okay, I can't. Good. Kick doesn't have a link for just a website. Then I will do the things afterwards manually. I don't want to spend too much time to just fill out my Kick links. The YouTube link too? That's weird. I haven't changed anything. That's weird. So, Let's see. If you want, I can share my URL. I mean, technically, you can just go on at Teci's Tavern. That's at least my streaming channel. Yep, that's what I'm doing now. Let's see. Can you? You probably can't click on it. Let me post it here again. Does that work? At least that's my YouTube channel for streaming and clips and shit like that. And then I have my main channel that is mostly for reviews and gaming videos, but at the moment it's mostly about reviews. That is the Call Me Taker one. I think I would just try and see if I can just link my link card. That's this little link tree thing here, where I just have all my links in one place. Because usually you don't have enough space on Twitter or Kick or Twitch to link all of these things, or even if you do, it looks very cluttered. So I usually prefer to link just my main channels and then the card, this link tree thing. Yeah, well, Mm, crazy. But see, that's the thing. I really like that. That all chats are combined. I think the only thing that would be kind of cool um, that the software could do is basically send chat messages from one chat to all other chats, so they can read it in the chat of the platform and not just on stream. But I think this, yeah, I don't know if that will ever be the case. Because, as I said, it's already a pain in the ass to set up something where it can easily stream to multiple platforms without completely ripping your hardware apart. And I do think that Restream had something like that, but to be honest, Restream is too expensive. What games do you play? I am actually thinking about what I'm playing today. I actually planned to play some um, just some World of Warcraft today, to be honest. React to one or two videos maybe. Um, and besides that, I actually that's no problem for me. If it's no problem for you, of course. Um, I mean, it is how it is. Maybe it's also some latency. I don't know if you're from the US or not. I'm a European. I'm a German. So therefore, there might be just some normal latency on top of the typical stream latency. Mm. And then I was thinking about playing the game called Solstice, which seems to be some form of Devil May Cry with Berserk elements, the anime and manga Berserk, but with a female protagonist in a more cartoonish design. It's really interesting. Why did you burn down countless buildings? What did they do to you? Well, they, I mean, these are buildings. They usually don't hurt people. So let's see. Yeah, I just think I will just jump into WoW for now. I I originally planned to play a round of Fortnite to just grind my daily V-Bucks. But yeah, server maintenance. It is how it is. Live manga reading and reacting. Actually, to be honest, I plan to do something like this in the future, but it will be incorporated within a project, a bigger project. So it might be interesting for you. Let me let me show you what I have, because and it's also a thing where I have a video that I might want to react today too. Um, Discord username is the same, actually. Call me Teci. It's usually Call me Teci on most platforms. So the idea of live reading something you have in mind for a series that I might call Timeline, and that's basically where I grab a franchise, usually a game franchise, and then play and read through it. So call me Teci. Let me just again. I might just have to add this. Here, there it is. It should work. Maybe it's not. As I said, I'm not super active on Discord. Might change in the future. We will see. Yeah, so the idea of this these timeline projects is basically that I take a franchise, then play through it in a most optimal order. But because you have many franchises at this point that also have side media like books and comics and movies, that will also be part of what I will probably do. Basically, do some live readings. And I think the biggest, maybe even the first project, will probably be Assassin's Creed. And yeah, Assassin's Creed is there's a lot. There's a shit ton to consume. What do I want to do? It is indeed. Yeah, Berserk. I can absolutely recommend Berserk too. I know that I've stopped at some point reading it, so I don't know how far I actually got, but overall I can very much recommend it. Even when I think that it might not be for everyone. Not just because of the brutality and... True. Berserk first page is something special, of course. Yeah. That is absolutely true. But I think it's more... It's not just necessarily about that the first page is like something crazy special. I think especially if you're just reading fantasy books or more mature fantasy books, it is not so rare that it is not super rare that they kind of open with some form of coitus, some form of sex scene or whatever. But I think it is just most people don't expect that from a manga, I think. Not talking about the 18 plus kind of manga, of course. By the way, I said that I'm German, right? And the funny thing is, I'm playing at the moment through World of Warcraft just for the story. I'm pretty much clapping everything in one hit, so I'm really just playing through the game for the story. I recommend my friends to read it with their parents. Absolutely. But to be honest, if you can read it together with your parents and they're completely cool with it, you know these are parents to keep, right? I love chaos. Yeah, I can. You don't say. I'm still curious about the burning buildings, to be honest. What's up with those? In the meantime, I'm taking a sip. Mm. So, the what I was trying to talk about is I'm playing through the story at the moment, and I stumbled over this guy, Commander Schnotz. And it is super funny because that guy is a parody on German accent. There needs to be one condition to make World of Warcraft really good. Is everything killable? Yeah. I mean, except the stuff from the current expansion. If you're max level like me, level 70, everything is most enemies are pretty much one-hit kills. Because yeah, they do some really weird scaling things. I am not the biggest fan of the new player experience, to be honest. But if you just want to play through the story, it mostly is pretty fine if you're just level 70. Um, the problem with being level 70 and basically one-hitting everything is pretty much that you very often go into dungeons, stand in front of these freaking big evil bosses, and well, you one clap them, you know, that's it kind of kills the seriousness of the encounter. Yeah, but to be honest, I do really like to play games for the story, for the world building and stuff. So that's something you can expect from me, at least. I'm not that much. I know that the average, quote unquote, average MMO player does not read the quest texts, so I can understand that. But if you're level 70 and you're not playing the current expansion, there is no real reason to quest at all, except just for the story, because you don't get experience points, you don't get anything else. The only thing you can do is grind some transmogs, cosmetics, basically, and that's it. And everything else is just then for the story. And because I've never really played World of Warcraft, I just want to know what the frick is going on. And therefore, well, I'm just playing through the story zones again. I did Burning Crusade, I did Wrath of the Lich King, at the moment it's Cataclysm. And this guy is super funny here. He gives you the quest to Desert Fox, but his chats, the conversation with him is, as I said, a parody of a German accent. It's super funny. So this is the Draenei warrior I've heard so much about. As you know, there is one obelisk that has yet to be activated. When the time comes, restore this ancient mechanism. Will you be there? Will history remember you? And it's super freaking funny. That depends on your willingness to cooperate. And I have so much fun reading this text. That's literally why I haven't completed the quest up to this point, because I wanted to show it on stream. And maybe make 1 or 2 clips about it. Am I your first viewer? That depends. Do you include those bot sellers on Twitch or not? And no, even then, you're not the first one stumbling over my stream, but still, yeah. You're pretty much the first person that I have a prolonged conversation with. It's so funny. I'm also wondering if there are more NPCs like that. That have some weird accents. But on the other hand, I probably wouldn't notice because I'm not Spanish, French, or whatever. I'm just a German dude. And therefore, I will just recognize the German accent. But that one is funny. There is much to be done in this region, did I know? We both have a burning passion for the ancient technologies here. Do we not? Perhaps there is a way for us to work together. Together. Let us put the misunderstandings of the past behind us then. No, there is an elusive animal in the region to the east that I have been hunting. Oof. Bring me this creature as a token of your sincerity. Then maybe I let you on my operation. I let you in on my operation. I love this. It's stupid, but I love this. True. True. I mean, to be honest, I don't think there is a bad timing to talk about guts clapping. So therefore, I don't know, you know? I mean, let's be honest, Berserk is just a very good manga, a very good piece of media. I still have to watch the newer anime of it. I don't know if that one is worth it because many people are not so happy with the older one as far as I know. So I'm kind of skeptical if the new anime is worth it or not. I don't know, have you watched the newer Berserk anime? And can you recommend? Which new anime? There is, like, you have the very old Berserk anime, then you have a newer version that pretty much most people don't like as far as I know. And then I saw there was, let me see if I get the name. I don't know actually. Let me see. Wait. Berserk anime. There is. Let me see. Where is it? Okay. I know that one is on Crunchyroll at least. And it is called Berserk the Golden Age Arc, Memorial Edition. That one is from... Okay. The fuck? Naruto getting a live action? Why? I mean, now we have One Piece live action that I mean, some people say it's really good, but I'm personally not the biggest fan of live action movies or series in general, to be honest. Have you seen the One Piece live action? I think it's Netflix exclusive again, right? Oh, okay, that Berserk anime is not new. Sorry, sorry. It is not new, so I just haven't seen it. Really, even your name gets a live action? Why? Why? I mean, your name might actually work better than some form of fantasy game, right? I think, at least. But in general, I don't know. It's, I mean, the very expressionistic nature of anime makes it special, so I don't know why they would degrade it into live action. So, yeah. Not my thing. Junji Ito's creation. Is that also an anime? Because if yes, then I haven't even heard about that one. Junji Ito's creation, you're saying, right? Junji Ito's creation. Ah, okay. Horror stuff. Okay, I see. Okay. One of his works, basically. Yeah, looks cursed as fuck. But I think that's a point that I'm making. I don't know how they would be able to get this the nature of anime transferred into live action in a good way. Especially because these live action movies don't have the budget of Disney movie, a Disney blockbuster, so they could just throw many money on the special effects and yeah. Junji Ito is said to be the best horror manga creator, but as a psychopath who doesn't have any emotions, I disagree.
I can't drink any more yet.
As I said, I'm not a lot into um, horror manga or horror anime. Not really, to be honest. Even for live action horror, I usually watch it together with my sister to make fun of it. Man, anime titles getting so long. True, but I think that's funny. It's completely stupid if you want to search for it. And you only have the English title, and then you kind of have to try to find Japanese name. But yeah. You have a long anime title idea. Tell me. Okay. To be honest, just from the length, it's not special anymore. I can see animes actually having that kind of title. Yeah, absolutely. But besides that, I'm not sure how many people would watch an anime with that kind of plot. Hey, try it. I mean, technically, if you're not if you're not that good with drawing things, you can also just write a light novel, right? It's usually not a big problem. That's it? Yeah. Okay. We found the box. I draw, but still a beginner. Yeah, I mean, everybody has to start from some point, right? So, that's fine. Everybody did. Was bad at the beginning. It just needs a lot of time and effort to get better. That's for sure. That's for sure. Also, I mean, technically, if you're a little bit cynical, I think AI might make things much easier in the future. Accept friend request on Discord. So I will just first do the stream. I'm not planning on kind of throwing my schedule overboard. Sorry for that. Maybe afterwards. And yeah, as I said, I might also just make a Discord server. And if you want, you can just join that one when it's up. I might have to see when I have the time to do that. Yeah. And then sure, we can talk a little bit about things. That's no problem. I also have to see the time today. Sadly, I have a few things planned in a few hours, and I have to see how I can schedule things around it. Especially what I can do now.
The reckoning is at hand. Shorel Iran. Keep your wits about you.
And then today in the evening, also pumping some iron again. And that's at least a routine that I have 3 times a week going to the gym. Can only recommend to take care of your body. There is something. Oi. There is something I need handled, didn't I? My most trusted advisor has run afoul of an ancient curse, a hex that has transformed the man into a turkey. Of all things, I have studied for days to discover a remedy for his condition, and finally I am ready to conduct the ritual. I will require, God, several idols from the nearby ruins. You are to bring them to me at once. Dismissed. Sure, mate. I love this guy. It's great. Dr. Wenkman was one of my greatest researchers until he had to be put out of my misery. He did leave me with one of his greatest accomplishments, though against the properly attuned supernatural adversary, this weapon will siphon the target's essence. It is of key importance in the ritual I will be attempting. Where do you come in, you ask? Simple. You have the privilege of collecting the material. The weapon is calibrated to fork on the furious specters in the temple in the east. Okay. So, what do I do? True, that's what I'm saying. That I have to see what I can do now. Okay, give me a sec. I had to open the door for my cat. So she can go outside. To chill in the sun a little bit. Are you on fire or are you the fire? Well, I'm technically just sitting next to the fire, so neither of both. So... Oh, yeah, I mean, the model at the moment is actually a mascot. The whole idea, that's also why the stream is called Teci's Tavern, is in the end, it will take probably a few months, is to have an overall tavern, and this model, this PNG model, is more or less a placeholder within the design of my mascots. But I have already teased my coming real model on Twitter. Again, if you want to go there, just call me Teci again. You will find me. And yeah, that's also by the way. My OC name should be a model Hellfire of the course of Teci. Yeah, no. No, actually they are just, I've just called them fluffy souls. It's as easy. It's basically just a fluffy ball with some spirit flames coming from them. It's relatively easy, but I like the general design of them. So, yeah. Let me see if I can show you what I mean. So, for example, that's the last teaser that I've sent for my real model. Yeah, they are. And I mean, the great thing about the whole fluffy all fluffy soul thing is that they are probably very merchandisable. So I don't know. Also, it's a relatively easy design. Like you don't. It's, I think, relatively recognizable. But yeah, that's at the moment something I have to set up over time, as well as the alerts and stuff like that. But technically, it's not fire at all. It's just some spirit flames. It's not hot. The lore behind them is actually that they are just fluffy, through and through fluffy. Their body is fluffy, and even their souls, these soul flames, spirit flames, feel weirdly plushy. Soul fire of no rest. Absolutely. Well, technically, they do rest. Like, for example, here, that's another picture of some other fluffy souls. They're like sweet things. And yeah, the designs change, are very individualizable. And you mean your name ideas? I'm not particularly sure if they fit into the idea of my stream, but I very much appreciate the input. So they can't. That's the funny part. They can't. They will just go away and plop up somewhere else. We never knew where they come from, but they were just there at some point, and they never really went away. So I just kept them. That's fine. And they will have a very nice, cozy place on my tavern later. I'm just wondering why you want to cut things in half that badly, to be honest. It's the same with the burning buildings. Isn't it much more, well, comfortable to have them working and intact, you know? To have a roof over your head? Okay. So, what do I do now? Twitter is wild indeed. I mean, at the moment we have a shit ton of console wars again around Starfield, and I'm so sick of it. I'm very much just sick of it. Especially new releases in general. I can't really stand new releases anymore. Because people get so emotional just about games. I don't get it. And they rip each other apart. I mean, ripping each other apart might be something that you like, but besides that. Don't worry, I never get emotional, but isn't it technically an emotion if you have an urge to cut things in half? Have you heard about Project Mugen? Mugen? Project Mugen. I haven't, but maybe now. I might have seen that in a trailer video, something like that. Looks, from the first glance, very Honkai Impact-ish. Mugen. Okay. Yes, sir. I see there's a point in between. Okay. I'm on official site at the moment. What is it? Oh, look at this. Somebody have put Pecora into the character roster. And the website has music. Okay, interesting. We don't do music today. Okay. Okay. Features. What is this game about? Is that some Genshin Honkai type of game? Genshin Impact plus Spider-Man plus GTA. Ah, yeah. That sounds scuffed, to be honest. Let me see. Project Mugen. I'm wondering where the GTA part comes into play. We have no sound? Ah. Okay, again. Make It Rain. Great name for a studio. Uh-huh. Okay. 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 Of course. Okay. Idol concerts? Sure. Big boss monsters? Okay, I guess these are then those that are limited to... Okay, so I see what you mean. I see what you mean with Genshin, Spider-Man plus GTA. But I don't really get the point of the game at this point. And I also guess that is probably a gacha game, right? So that would be an immediate turn off for me. It's a gacha game and basically for whales. Yeah, that's basically all gacha games, right? I think the only gacha game I felt that you can get basically every character you want just by playing the game constantly is Azur Lane, I think. Most other gacha games, yeah, not that fun. For me at least. But I have to say it looks interesting. But I'm still not sure about the mix, to be honest. It seems a little bit weird that they have basically taken the gameplay of Genshin, as it seems, and just put that into a town like New York. A little bit weird. Do I play Genshin? No. I don't. I've played it at release. I played everything that there was at release, and then I had enough. I did some math about the pull chances of characters, and I had to decide for myself that it's not really worth it. Because usually, if you have a gacha game, then I mean, the gacha part is pretty big, you know? And if that really big part of the game is literally paywalled, it's not really satisfactory for me, you know? It's kind of always leaves a very bitter taste in my mouth. So I never really cared that much to play it afterwards again. So I have played it, but no, I don't play it anymore. Sorry. I mean, they are going wild with all those cinematic mini sequences, but I don't know. It's interesting. I'm still very interested what is in between, right? I mean, if there is basically just a big city and you have just a few hot spots here and there where actually things are happening, then the whole big city is just a device for you to travel through every time something is happening. And I think I should turn off that messages go away after 20 seconds in the chat. Genshin can't die since the whales. Yeah, absolutely. I've invested a lot of money. The money spent is basically nothing, so they won't. Yeah, absolutely. In general, you have to keep in mind that games that are made for whales are usually much more profitable than games made for or in favor for the average player. That's probably also a big thing. That's why we usually don't have that many games anymore that were designed in favor for the player, but always with monetization, loot boxes, some randomness, or whatever. Genshin's getting anime adaptation. Okay, cool. That's nice. I'm actually surprised that it was that it took so long, but it. I was thinking maybe they've waited until they have enough plot content, basically, to make a longer series about it. It also has a trailer. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Concept trailer. Okay, but when it's a concept trailer, is it confirmed that it gets an anime? Mm. Let's see. Mm, 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 mm. Okay. It will get its anime, but we don't have any kind of estimated release dates yet. Okay, let's watch the trailer then. Nice. I mean, it's great for me, right? Somebody that likes story stuff without necessarily the gameplay around it. I won't complain if it's good. The current storyline is short for one season, but they do have a lot of story. I mean, they will probably not just straight up take what they have now in Genshin and just put that into an anime. They will probably develop more plot around that, right? So I mean, we obviously need the typical beach episode, right? For example, so stuff like that. Getting to know villagers, maybe make a quest where they help the smith in Mondstadt. Yeah, but that's the point. The trailer was like 11 months ago. Yes, it is 11 months ago, but we don't have a release date yet. Yes, so blah, blah, blah. I mean, let's go on Dexerto. I'm not the biggest fan of Dexerto, but whatever. Mm, 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 mm. Ba, 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 ba. So, but we don't know how long the show will be, what story elements it will include, and also no release date. Yes, I know. No. I know. I mean, I guess it's a long-term project. I mean, Genshin is a long-term project too, right? With its quasi-expansions. Was Ufotable a Japanese animation studio or a Korean one? Squirrels, butterflies. Okay. Looks good. I see 3D stuff already. A lot of 3D stuff, actually. Interesting. Is it just a concept art, basically, or... Okay. 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 Yes. Watch the hole. Okay. I will do. Yes. I mean that it was confirmed. I already showed that in the article, right? But I'm curious and confused at the same time that we see both of them in this frame. Because, I mean, the main plot of Genshin, as far as I know, is about finding the sibling, right? So, I'm curious if they will implement some different twists on that story. But yeah, generally speaking, just from the, I mean, it's mostly concept art-ish. We haven't seen any real big animated scenes yet. But yeah, I mean, looks interesting, at least. Very, very interesting. Looking forward to it. Okay, so basically the brother Ether, that's his name, okay, is basically the protagonist then, I guess. Okay. Cool. Do we have a release date for Project Mugen? Probably not, right? Shut the fuck up. Okay. Normally success, remember one rule, do not follow any rules. Good rule. As infinite. Hello, infinite trigger investigator. Investigator. Okay. But it seems to be a game that is very much relatively new, right?
也就是说，要完蛋了吧？大概。
Okay.
也就是说，要完蛋了吧？
We're screwed.
大
Good.
概。
Okay, yeah, whatever. Yeah, it gives cyberpunk vibes, but not that much. It's very much just a more techy version of just modern times, right? I actually, to be honest, had when I saw the scenes where they're just walking down the street, I thought much more that it looked like Persona, to be honest. Maybe because it has just this typical Japanese walking down the street look, but Yeah, but you have to be very honest. I mean, what can you expect from Chinese companies copying other games? The thing is that this is still pretty much what they're doing most of the time, right? So I think the statement is kind of true, despite that there's sometimes coming interesting projects out of the country. It is like there's no need to generalize that. Because, I mean, Chinese companies, it's a hard thing. Most of them do indeed just make copies for mobile games and stuff like that. I mean, even Tencent, a sub company from Tencent, made a mobile copy of League of Legends, despite that Riot Games, the developer from League of Legends, were part of Tencent already. So yeah, so that's that. First Chinese game was Tower of Fantasy. Was isn't Hoyo, also MiHoYo, aren't they also a Chinese company? Or were they Korean? China. Interesting. Yeah. But I think even Tower of Fantasy did things different enough to not call it necessarily a copycat. I think that's okay. And I'm generally not too eager to call things copies. It's just unnecessary, I think. Unless it's obvious, right? So, and I mean, if you're talking about copies, then you can technically also make the argument. Technically, MiHoYo copied Legend of Zelda and made it into a gacha game, and bleh, and then you had the Genshin Impact. You know, the whole thing with the copies. I mean, a good copy is still better than a bad project made on their own. So, yeah, I'm fine with copies. Unless they're really just copies, you know? So, what do we have? What do we do? So, we got Project Mugen. Do we have any infos about that one? Mugen. Mugen. Fun fact, Toyo Ono almost got assassinated because Honkai Impact 3rd was getting bunny girls, but not China because of their strict rules. Yeah, I mean, Chinese people, right? What can I say about that? I mean, you just think about, I don't know how deep you are into the whole VTuber scene stuff, but for example, the whole story with Coco from All Alive. The Taiwan accident, where basically you had hundreds, if not thousands, of fans literally harassing the company because one of the talents just said Taiwan. Yes, true. But I mean, that was just trying to make a parallel of the emotionality of many Chinese fans, you know. They sometimes get a little bit overboard. A tiny bit. I mean, Western fans can be loud too, but what I often notice from the Chinese side, and especially Chinese side, it's really crazy sometimes. But I guess that's just kind of part of their socialization over there. I don't know. It's 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 okay. It's fine, but yeah. So the anime. I am indeed curious, but until we know anything more specific, it is just a teaser. Sadly. It is sadly just a teaser. But yeah. Besides that, what else do we have? Sand people mad because they are not getting one thing, just one, while they get all the events like all the restaurant collabs and merchandise. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is complicated with China. And especially when you think about that MiHoYo is a Chinese company, they're usually the restrictions from the Chinese, from this CCPD, right? CCP? CC? They did a name change recently, if I remember correctly. Let me see. CCP? Yep. CPC. Okay. So yeah, basically every company that wants to distribute anything in China or is a Chinese company is pretty much has to obey the CCP overlords. And I think that's also a thing why Chinese people are usually not used to not get things. Also because just the Chinese market is so big that even many Western companies, change their game in favor of the Chinese market. But I actually see a downward trend in that when it comes to that. I mean, even companies like Blizzard, if we think about the Blitzchung controversy, they basically took such a freaking shitstorm into their face because they punished Blitzchung and the moderators because they because the winner of a Hearthstone tournament basically shouted freedom for Hong Kong or something like that into the camera, and then everyone got their ass handed to them and big shitstorm. But now we have a Blizzard, an Activision Blizzard that literally pulled out of China. They canceled the contracts with I think it was NetEase. And then now again, Chinese people are mad, and then you had that's true. And that's also something I want to do anyway now. But I thought I would just I pull through up to the full hour. But let me finish that one, that little part here. And because Blizzard pulled out of the Chinese market, because they canceled a contract with NetEase, Chinese people lost access to all Activision and Blizzard games, including World of Warcraft and, of course, Overwatch 2. And that was also a funny thing when Overwatch 2 launched on Steam. A big part of the negative reviews came from Chinese players that complained about that they couldn't play the game anymore. And that is super funny, right? I don't know how many it were, 60 something percent, if I remember correctly. Thank you. But no, just because we were on the whole topic about Chinese market and stuff. Yeah, autocorrect. I can feel with you on that. It is actually very interesting, and then you basically had thousands upon thousands of angry Chinese players that review bombed Overwatch 2 on Steam because they couldn't play the game anymore on their servers. So what they then try to do is using a VPN to play on Western servers, and of course the connection was shit. So, and yeah, that's basically why a lot of the Overwatch 2 reviews actually came from China and not necessarily from angry Western. Here, 80% of negative Overwatch reviews on Steam are from China. Because they can't play the game in China anymore or have to use a VPN. Yeah, but I mean, I'm pretty sure VPN is banned in China, right? Yeah. Of course, it is banned in China. But of course, people are still using it, right? So, I mean, the people are not stupid. They are just not allowed to use it. But, you know? I mean, the technical possibilities are there, so people will use it always. But yeah, that's what I meant because you made the parallel up with the bunny girl. I mean, to be honest, I would be very, very infuriated about not getting a bunny girl too. To be very honest, but I probably wouldn't try to assassinate someone from the company that made the game. If you take something from someone, their curiosity will make them explore that thing even more. Yes and no. Because you have to think about the whole Chinese firewall thing. They basically don't have an internet, right? They basically have just an intranet. Fun fact, it was like more than 5 or 8 bunny girl characters. That's shit, you know? I would be furious too. Or very, very sad. That depends on the day, I think. But yeah, I think the point is that you can't be curious about something if you don't know that it exists, right? Do they have a name or something like that? Yeah, wait. Honkai Impact it was, right? Honkai Impact. Let's see. Those? Yeah, I can see them. I can see the mummy vibes. Ah, here. Yo. Let's see. I see. has a YouTube video. For those bunny girls. Wait. Hong. Bunny girl. Okay, that is the trailer.
Take a breath, imagine the bright blue sky beyond the clouds.
Yeah. I can see why people are angry. To be very honest. Yeah, I can see why. This is a tremendous loss of content and plot and things. Yeah. I mean, what can I say, right? What can I say? I think the only thing I can say really for that is, well, it is how it is, you know. And yeah, I think I will leave it at that for today. Yeah, I mean, Honkai Star Rail was basically played by everyone, right? I mean, the board influencers went crazy on that game. But yeah, I really like the you stream daily. I will have to see how it works with my time schedules. At the moment, I'm more planning on playing irregularly, but I think in the next days, when I want to play Solstice, the game I've talked about earlier, I will try to get to stream at least every 2 days. That's the plan for now, right? And besides that, the daily stream schedule will come when the real model is done. And yeah, I will have to see how things will go in the future. I'm available at Discord to kill your boredom. Yeah, as I said, I will see if I can set up a Discord server. I already heard several times that is a very nice way to build up a community, so probably a good idea. Also alerts. We had alerts and Discord. These are my next 2 projects. Was it the first viewer to stay this long? Lol. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I had I had a lurker once. It might have been just one of those bot sellers, but technically there was one viewer in the past. But I have to say that I haven't streamed for the last, I think, 2 months or something like that. So, you know, I very much appreciate your time. And that said, yeah, I hope we will see us again soon. And until then, see you in the next stream. And if you want, you can just check out my channels. Maybe my video channel. Also, just call me Teci on YouTube. And until then, hey. One good joke. Bro, you're on my stream. Do I really need a good joke? If sorry, I'm really not good at jokes. Good joke. Don't have a good joke. Fuck. Is that a normal thing that people end streams with jokes? Is that a thing? Is it really? Okay. Okay. Let's do a joke about jokes, alright? Did you hear about the guy who invented the knock knock joke? He won the Nobel Prize. Whoa! Because no normal outro gets boring real fast and does less viewers and followers. I see. Good question. Maybe I will think about that too in the future. To kind of mix that up a little bit to make things more interesting. Yeah. Thanks for the input, the idea. I will probably not go for the jokes, but we will see. Maybe I have a good idea. As I said, I wish you a wonderful day. Having a good humor is really good for growth. Yeah, sure. For sure. But I tend to have bad humor, so that might make me unique. Maybe that counts too. Who knows? Hey, no problem. I mean, as I said at the beginning, I tend to be more chill about things, so I'm alright. And yeah, sure. Your mom joke, go for it. Your mama's so fat she has her own gravitational field. True. True. That's what's called the Earth. That's why people call it Mother Earth, you know? By the way, is that a thing in English? I know that's at least something. Yeah, it is a thing in English. Nice, great, wonderful. I thought it was something that would be lost in translation, because in German we would just say Mutter Erde, but it would be literally translated to Mother Earth. Ja, genau. Alright. Perfect. So at least my comment to your joke made sense. That's great. That's a good enough outro for me. Again, I wish you a wonderful day. I need to eat something now. Then, bye bye.